welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about basics of drawing. So let's get started with introducing you to tools and materials for drawing. So first and foremost, it is important to have the right tools for the job. While you can technically draw with anything, having a good quality pencil or pen will make your work look better and be more satisfying to create. I recommend starting with a set of graphite pencil, which come in different grades and hardness. The harder the pencil, the lighter the mark it will make, and the softer the pencil, the darker the mark it will make. So here's the B6, B8. The ones with H are usually lighter and harder when you are drawing. Obviously, you will be needing an eraser and a sharpener for your pencils. Erasers also come in different types that, some of the handy tools would be like this pencil eraser that can help you to erase details in a drawing. And here's another type of the pencil kind of eraser that if you need for any details, you can use these tools as well. So some of the other materials that you may come across as tools for drawers is the Tortillon. It's a tool for blending and smudging. As you see, mine is pretty darkened, and charcoal and graphite has been already covering the surface of this tool, but essentially it's just a pressed paper that helps you to blend. If you don't have this tool, don't worry, you can also use just a tissue paper for blending, or even your fingers could work. Alright, some of the other tools that you can use for drawing are colored pencils. And here I have watercolor pencils, which is also a great tool to use. You can use it either as just pencil, or you can add some water to turn it into a watercolor. So generally, work of art that is dry is considered to be drawing, except watercolors that do not necessarily fall under painting. They are still considered as drawings. So if you want to incorporate a little bit of water in your drawings, you can use watercolor pencils, which are a great option. Another drawing tool are soft pastels. Soft pastels are also great tools to use. They also come in the form of Conte, which is a slightly harder version of soft pastels and allows you to create sharper lines. And Conte usually is being referred to a black or white or brown shades that you can use for your drawings. Alright, and of course you also need paper. Let's get started with some basic shapes and warming up for your drawing. Of course, you also need to have paper for drawing. You can choose any size of a sketchbook. Here I have a couple of my sketchbooks, a medium size and a larger size. And to get started, I want to start with just lines. Free-handedly just draw lines. Straight lines, organic shaped lines, so round and scribbly. Hard edge, angular lines. And we also want to try to do some free-handed shapes, any shape. So the shape is closed, or geometric shapes. Circle, like a square, even a heart shape, diamond, So in order to become a good drawer, you need to also become a good observer. In other words, you have to be able to dissect and deconstruct the objects that you see around you. Here's I have a glue stick to identify the geometric shapes that you see in that object. So here, if I look from the top, I see a circle. If I look at it from the front, just eye level, I see a cylinder. So let me try to draw a cylinder just free-handedly. Or if I am looking at this object straightforward, I will probably see just a rectangle. Here's an exercise for you. Just go around your environment and take a look at the shapes and the objects that you see and try to identify the geometric shapes of those objects. Any object, whether it is a lamp or a book or even a piece of fruit, try to identify the geometric shape of that object. All right, let's move on to the next step. Now I want you to pay attention to values. What are values? Values are how light or how dark something is, or how much light is falling on an object. Let me draw a cube. Let's behind it. Or what you can do is just draw two squares and then connect the lines like this. So let's say the light is falling from the top. The top is going to have light, but the sides are going to have shadows. So I'm going to do some shading. Remember, you can use your softer pencil too at this point. Eight, and I'm just going to do the cross hatch. I want to bring your attention to not being afraid of making too many lines on your drawing. The drawing doesn't have to be perfect right from the beginning. It takes some time to practice and your hand getting used to drawing. And we'll go over each line a few times until we get it to the level that we want, or like the perfection level that we want to see. But there are many different layers into drawing, so do not expect your first layer to be your best layer. Be patient. All right, so let's say this is how my cube looks like. On one side it is much darker, the other side is slightly dark, and the top is light. So here's an exercise I want you to do. I want you to try creating a grading table like this that has 1 to 10 squares, and I want you to fill in from the darkest to lightest. So your darkest has to be as almost black as possible, and your lightest is going to be white. Let me see if I can show you in the camera. Yeah, here we go. So number 10 is the lightest and it's white, and number 1 is the darkest and it is black. You can do this exercise with, colored pencils too, and try just pressing harder to get a darker shade. And as you are progressing towards higher numbers, you want to just decrease the amount of pressure that you are putting on the tip of your pencil, whatever color that you're using, until you are just going to be very, very, very light, and the last one doesn't have any color in it at all. So try this one in your sketchbooks. Okay, next I want to talk about textures. How do you show different textures with drawing? Let's say, how would you show a fabric or something that is woven and it's made of wool versus a piece of fruit? So you will have to work with the way that you shade and mimic the form of that material to make it look like woven, and just repeating that pattern very softly. What if it was more of a woven pattern? You just repeat it. What if it was more like grid or almost like a cheesecloth? So you just practice and you create that pattern. You need to identify the pattern and try to mimic the shape with coming up with a shading that shows that pattern. Let's say you want to, now let's try the piece of fruit. Let's say an apple. Here's an apple. If it's not big enough. Okay, let me just make it bigger. Here's my apple. Yeah, it's not a perfect apple. So always try to look at the form of that object. Is it spherical? Is it flat? If it's spherical, just follow the shape of it when you are shading. So as you see, I start from the top and I press and I release, I press and I release. And one good technique that you can use if you are afraid your hands are going to smudge the graphite on your paper too much, you can use another piece of paper or just a tissue paper, put it underneath your hand and continue your work. So I'm just going to continue this, and let's say there is light falling right in the center of this apple, just along here. So I leave that area white. I don't go over it too much with my pencil. And then of course this top part has more shadow in it because it's inverted. Yeah. And I'm gonna use that piece of my tissue paper to blend it a little bit. Okay, and then I'll go over it, make some lines more clear. wherever there's no light, especially where our object is sitting. So let's say this just on a surface, so there's going to be some shadow right underneath it. My shadow can be as small as just a little bit of a darker line underneath my object, all the way up to the actual shape of the, apple, for example, in front of it, or again, whichever the side this light is coming from. And then if there is more light I need to show, I can just do this. There we go. And you almost draw even with your eraser. You don't just erase, you draw with the eraser. There we go. This is just one example. So here are some examples of different textures that I have done. So here's a sponge, here's some sort of a fabric, and here I have some woven material.